Our first speaker today, honored to have him joining us via Zoom. Um, Antonio Villaraigosa is a lifelong Democrat and a proven public servant with a distinguished record of leadership rooted in working class advocacy, civil rights, and effective government. His career spans labor and civil rights organizations, including the American Federation of Government Employees, the SEIU, the United Teachers of Los Angeles, and the ACLU. I was privileged to have the opportunity to observe Antonio's passion for working people when he worked for organized labor and when I worked for the IBEW's Hollywood Electricians Union a few years ago. And I'm not going to admit how many years ago that was, but it was way back. And after working for organized labor, he served in the California State Assembly, where he rose to become Speaker. In the Assembly, he brought together labor, environmental, and business leaders to deliver major progressive victories. The passage of a $2 billion park bond, the largest in California history at the time, authoring the Healthy Families Program to provide health coverage for nearly 750,000 uninsured children, and leading the approval of a $9 billion school bond, the largest ever enacted. Later, he was elected as the 41st mayor of the city of Los Angeles, and as mayor, he demonstrated that progressive values and fiscal discipline can go hand in hand, balancing the city's budget while investing in public safety, infrastructure, and core services. He made Los Angeles one of the safest cities in America, while also building a 21st century transportation system, advancing education reform, expanding economic opportunity, and positioning LA as a national leader in sustainability and green growth. Today, he is a candidate for governor of the state of California with an express commitment to affordability and fighting to lower cost, expanding opportunity, strengthening public institutions, and delivering results that reflect the democratic values of equality, inclusion, and shared prosperity. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I want everybody to know I wrote it myself. Appreciate the nice and kind words, and obviously I also enjoyed your talk as we started the evening or the afternoon. Let me tell you something. The passion that you bring to this job is something that we all need. We've got to stand up, everybody. I was at First AME Church earlier today with celebrating Black History Month with Mayor Bass and other electeds. I was in the San Fernando Valley a few minutes later, and now with you. And what I can tell you that people are saying all over this town and really all over the state and the nation is that basta ya. We need enough is enough. In my entire life, I've never seen ICE agents covered from head to toe like the Ku Klux Klan, armed with assault weapons, flashbang grenades, violently arresting people, even seniors, separating children from their families, going into schools and hospitals and courthouses. This is warrantless arrest in homes. This is un-American, and it's not reflective of California values or our Bill of Rights. But I say to people, we've got to push back. We've got to fight back. And we need that passion to do it. But we also got to understand, we have some problems in this state, everyone, that we've had long before Donald Trump. I said 6 years ago, and I've said it all through this campaign trail, we can't continue to be a party of just people that drive a fancy electric car and not a Toyota pickup or a Ram pickup or ride a bus like my mother did. We're the party of working families, and working families can't afford this state. It's as simple as that. We have the highest gas prices in the United States of America. And if we close one more refinery, those gas prices will go up, according to USC, to $8.75 a gallon. We have the second highest utility costs in the United States of America. They've gone up 60% in the last 6 years. And we have the second highest home prices in the United States of America. People can't afford to buy a home. Too many families are living more than one family to a home. Our kids can't buy a home unless we help them. And instead of the home ownership as part of the American dream for them, it's 3 roommates in a crowded apartment. So the next governor is going to have to take on this issue of affordability. My resume was mentioned, but I want to remind you, when I was Speaker of the California State Assembly, we passed Healthy Families. 750,000 children at any one time had healthy families, but millions of kids got healthy families over the years. I was the author. I was also the author of the toughest assault weapons ban and responsible gun legislation that really brought down crime right around that time. I'm the author of the Carl Moyer Act, which was the biggest effort to clean up the air since the Clean Air Act until AB 32 and SB 32. And all of the LGBTQ legislation around civil rights, marriage, at the time, domestic partnership, discrimination in employment and housing, all of that came out under me, and I actually authored some of it. I started with Sheila Kuehl, the Gay and Lesbian Caucus, when there was just me and her. And so what I can tell you, we also balanced 2 budgets with a surplus with a Republican and a Democratic governor when we didn't have 2/3 vote. We had 42 and 48. I was one of the people that led us from being purple in 94 to being blue in 98 by registering 1 million Latinos back then. When I was mayor, you mentioned it, but I want to bring it home and remind you all, because you live close to the city of LA. I guess the closest part is San Pedro. Let me remind you, when I was mayor, LA was one of the most violent big cities in America. I helped to make it one of the safest big cities in America, along with New York. 48% drop in violent crime. And not just cops, and we did increase our cops and taking guns off the streets, but dramatically expanding after-school programs and summer youth jobs. Opened up parks till midnight, 32 parks in the highest crime areas during the summer, and gun crime went down 76%. 1 out of 3 schools were failing when I was mayor, when I became mayor. The San Fernando Valley wanted to secede. By the time I left, it was 1 out of 10 schools failing and a 60% increase in the graduation. And Judy Mitchell, who's on this call, can tell you, nobody built more light rail or busways than anyone in the United States of America. A lot of people call me Mr. Transportation. I think I was Mr. Education and Mr. Public Safety too, and Mr. Environment. Number 1 American city in reducing carbon emissions, number 5 in the world. The port, which is the biggest emitter of greenhouse gases, is the greenest port in the world, and it needs to get greener still. We reduced our water consumption to 1970 levels and planted 400,000 trees, more than anybody in the United States. So everyone, yes, I'm running on affordability. I'm running on taking on Trump. But more importantly, I'm running on a record. There is no one in this race that has done a quarter of what I did as Speaker and as Mayor. And let me remind Palos Verdes, let me remind all of you, I'm from LA. We have never gotten our fair share, everyone. Except when I was Speaker, I made sure we got our fair share. And we need a Democrat who's got a proven record, who comes from your town, who knows where Palos Verdes is, who knows where San Pedro is, who knows where Watts is, who knows where every small community in this region is, because I grew up here and I've lived here my whole life. So with that, let me just say thank you for the honor of allowing me to come and speak to you. instead of talking 15 minutes, I think I did 10 so I can answer more questions.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And do we have some questions from the group here present?
Where'd the bag go now? Jesus Christ, Jim. What the fuck are you doing here?
Who's that?
Okay, I can't read that actually. All right, here's a question for Mayor Villaraigosa. What I want to know is how to pay my federal taxes into a holding account so I don't have to fund this corrupt and evil regime.
I
Speaking for
wish
us.
you could do that. I wish you could do it, but let me tell you something. As you all know, I was president of the ACLU before I got elected. I had been in the civil rights movement before that and was involved since I was 15 years old. I've never seen a government that is infringing on our civil liberties. I could almost guarantee you that if you did that, these guys would know very quickly the number of the surveillance that's occurring among us. People are coming into the United States and they're checking their Facebook, their social media. So I wish I could tell you, put it in an escrow account, but you can't. But I know what you mean. I'll tell you what you can do. You can get involved. One of the things we've all said, and I've got a plan on ICE, by the way, to stop ICE in California, to enforce California's laws on a number of issues, including the safety and security in the detention centers, including masked agents and identifying themselves, including having warrants when they go into places of businesses and private property. But I can tell you this, at the end of the day, these guys are taking names down. So please pay your taxes. But what we can do is vote, and we voted for Prop 50, and we need to vote in the midterms. What we can do is participate in marches and build a mass movement. That's the best way to fight back.
Yeah.
Mayor Villaraigosa, we have a member of the Palos Verdes Democrats here. She arrived early with a piece of page from the LA Times, and she'd like to ask you a question based on this article. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for that speech. And first, I must compliment you on not saying after everything you said. There were no ums in between, and that is very impressive to me.
I
Really,
actually say from time to time when I'm sleepy and tired, but yeah.
I never heard an not one. Okay.
Good.
The story, I'm not the creator of this, but I saved it. I'm a loyal LA Times subscriber. So this isn't a question, actually. It was a statement, and maybe you're familiar with it. It was fix the potholes or fight the power with a question mark or do both. Now, did you happen to read it? That was Sunday, February 8th.
I think do both. Let me tell you, I think we got to fight the power. We just hit a pothole the other day, and the young man you can't see him, is sitting to my right, who drives me around. By the way, a young man with a BA in film, a filmmaker, but there aren't any jobs in film, and we're going to bring him back, everyone. We hit a pothole, and he went online to see about the potholes. And he said, last year they did 70,000, and this year they did 71,000. That's a lot of potholes. And I said, I don't remember, but you should look it up. I think I averaged more than 300,000. In 8 years, I did more than 2 million potholes. So yes, I'm a big believer in fix the potholes, because government's got to work. That's not conservative or liberal. That's just what we all want. But I am also a big believer that we got to fight back. So we got to do both.
Yeah.
Questions? I'll go right here.
Hi. I've been in government my whole career, so for a very long time, I've seen everything, and I was impartial in my job. So I worked for the Democrats, I worked for the Republicans. I'm really concerned about what's happening, and I don't know if this country's ever going to come back. And I think one of the things we need to do is get a lot of those middle of the road voters who voted for Trump. And so I want to see a lot of that. And I knew people who didn't vote, who voted for Trump because they were just worried about their kids having to have a bathroom in the school that was, both genders. I mean, it just was astounding to me. And I'm also troubled because somebody who was very anti-ICE because he's Latino then told me about how much he liked Reagan. And I'm like, we got to get those people voting on our side.
We really do.
And I also hear the young people saying, oh, all the politicians, you can't trust them, forget it. We got to get those people who are not voting and the young people. And I want to see young people running or working for you because we need to get young people in the pipeline the way the Republicans are very good at that. So I would like to see politicians talking about these.
Well, first of all, let me just say this. I'm running in no small part because I've been watching for a while. I said to you that 6 years ago, I said, when everybody was saying we're the fourth largest economy in the world, what they wouldn't say is we had the highest poverty rate. And so in the last election, when Democrats were saying inflation was down, people were saying, well, hold it. The cost of living is up. I don't know what the difference between cost of living and inflation is, but I know this. I can't afford this place. And they were saying it all around the country, but particularly here, where prices are as high as they are. But you said something, and actually the first person before you who asked about potholes or fighting, government has to work. And what I said was, right after this last election, when you lose the middle, you're losing working families. People who take a shower after work, as an example. You're losing the middle class. You got to look in the mirror. And that's why I've said just now, yeah, we got to fix the potholes. Yes, we have to make neighborhoods safe. Yes, we need good schools. Yes, we need health care that we can afford and is accessible. And yes, we got to fight Trump. I have a record of doing those kinds of things. Make no mistake, look back. In '94, we were a purple state. I was majority whip in charge of registering voters for the Democrats, and then majority leader and speaker in the end. So my entire time I was part of the leadership. We understood we had to win those people. And right now, a lot of those people feel like Trump lied to them. He said, secure the borders. There's nobody in this room, your room, or this room for that matter, that believes we shouldn't. Every country secures its border. But I say we should do so humanely. We shouldn't separate kids from their families. We should have a pathway to citizenship. And yes, oh, by the way, if you're a violent criminal or a serious felon, yes, they ought to be deportable. That's who we should prioritize. But someone said to me the other day when they saw my commercial, they said, well, what are you saying? If they're illegal, if they're undocumented rather, they said illegal, but I say undocumented. If they're undocumented, they said, are you saying ICE doesn't have a right to arrest them? I said, no, I'm not saying that, but I am saying this. They don't have a right to brutally arrest them. They don't have a right to throw them on the ground and shoot them in the back. They don't have a right to do that. 170 citizens have been arrested and thrown in, even when they were saying, I'm a citizen. And some of them were left in for more than a couple of weeks. So, yes, government's got to work. We got to win the middle again. And because of my record, I'm someone that can win the middle. Someone that understands government's got to work for people. So I tell people I'm running on common sense, competence, and a course correction. We will take on Donald Trump, however. And who better to do that than a former civil rights leader, a former labor leader, and someone who grew up in a tough neighborhood and had to fight his way out of there just to go to college and get to where I am today.
Mayor, we have another question from another of our in-person members here at the Palos Verdes Library.
I just had a question because as governor, you're going to face a lot of the Medicaid and SNAP cuts and Medicare cuts. Is there anything you can do about it as governor?
I'll tell you, I'm going to put every waking moment in it. This man with his big ugly bill has eviscerated Medi-Cal and covered California because they're removing the subsidies. So this isn't just about poor people having health care and access to health care. It's about middle class people as well. And so, yes, I'm going to work to drive down costs. You know, we need to make sure that we're providing quality care, but we spend more on healthcare and get less than any big country in the OECD, the Organization of whatever states, basically the Western economies. And so I'm the author of Healthy Families. I did it when I was mayor, LARX, even though we don't have a health department, that's a county, which was up to a 40% drop in drug prices. I believe healthcare is a right, not a privilege. I believe everyone ought to have it. And for those of you, because there are some, even Democrats, that question, well, why are the undocumented getting healthcare? Well, Trump's going to take that away. But let me tell you what I tell people. The undocumented have been getting health care for decades. It's called emergency care. And because they wait till they get really violently ill, the cost of emergency care for them is more than the cost if they had Medi-Cal. And so I believe healthcare is a right. I'm going to work hard every single day. I'm going to bring the best and the brightest to help us figure out the issue. I'm also one of the strategists behind the MCO tax. If you remember Prop 35 a year and a half ago, it passed overwhelmingly in this state because what happens with Medi-Cal, a lot of doctors won't provide care because they only get $7 a visit. And so this picked up the rates for Medi-Cal reimbursement. I think we've got to look at our disproportionate share hospitals. These are the hospitals that don't cherry pick. They pretty much take all the Medi-Cal patients and all of the uninsured, and they're going to need help. Otherwise, they'll go under. I'm going to make healthcare an absolute priority, and it's part of the affordability agenda as well.
All right, we have a couple more questions. We have Steve Goldsmith's got his hand up online from our online members.
Hi,
Steve?
Steve.
Thank you for taking it. And Antonio is an old friend from when we were volunteering on a campaign in 1992.
We've been around, Steve.
I won't say whose campaign was, but a good person. In terms of refineries staying open, I think the way to keep the price of gas down is to drive the demand down through electrification of transportation, of construction, of all of those things for a dramatic drop in our use of fossil fuels, which will, of course, lower demand, lower with the state, lower prices. But I'm just wondering, in terms of your campaign funding, do you have limits on or restrictions on corporations, any corporations, or the oil industry, or where are you at on that?
Yeah, I don't. I haven't had limits. I mean, we do have limits, but the limits are, I think, 39,000. I think my average is somewhere in less than 1,000, probably 500, but I don't know exactly. But let me share a view that's similar to yours, but there's a place of divergence. I actually think we have to have an all of the above strategy. Let me tell you why. And first of all, I didn't mention, so I'll mention, I had a 100% record in the legislature with the California League of Conservation Voters. I'm the author of the Carl Moyer Act, which is the act to help truckers and operators of heavy-duty diesel equipment, um, moved to clean fuels. It was the biggest effort to clean up the air, and it still is, since AB 32 and SB 32. As mayor, I got LA completely off of coal. You may have read that LA is completely off of coal. The head of the Sierra Club, Vice President Gore, was there because it was the first city in the country to do that. #1 American city in reducing carbon emissions, #5 in the world, as I mentioned. We reduced our water consumption to 1970 levels when we had 1.5 million people. I mentioned the 400,000 trees, the 3 light rail lines and a busway. Every light is synchronized in the city of LA. Every light, every street lamp is LED, the first city in the world. But you're right. We need to move to electrification. But let me share something with you, Stephen. Even though we've made that the 2035 our goal, we've only done 167,000 charging stations in 10 years. We need 2 million more to get to that goal in the next 10 years. And by the way, the charging stations, they're not in every neighborhood. They're in affluent neighborhoods. They're not in the poor neighborhoods. And we're a party of working people and working families that aren't there. So what I've said is, let's build a grid, #1. #2, in addition to that, we have Norway is one of the greenest countries in the world. I think you probably know that because it's clear you know a lot about climate change. It's one of the greenest countries in the world. They produce their own oil and gas, which is how they pay for it. We are going to wean ourselves off of oil and gas without question. But we can't force working people who could barely afford, a gas car or a hybrid to go all electric till we have a grid for it, #1. And #2, until we can drive down the prices for electric cars. Now, there's some that they can afford, but a lot that they can't. So I'm with you. We've got to stand up as climate fighters. There is no one in this race. No one. One person has spent a lot of money fighting with us on climate change. That's true. He has. But there's no one in this race with anything close to my record. Not one. In fact, if you put them all together, they don't have the record I have on climate change. But what I want to do is I don't want to push out that speaker that asked us how we lost working people and the middle class. We keep on putting more and more mandates on them. When we're not ready yet, they're going to leave our party. They're going to buy into drill, baby, drill. And by the way, we will never drill on the California coast, Palos Verdes Democrats. That will never happen under my watch, or actually under any of my colleagues who are running for governor. But thank you for that question, Stephen.
Okay, we have
for a couple more questions.
another in-person question here from a member.
Thank you, sir. I'm really concerned about the noises coming out of the administration about federalizing elections. And so I'm concerned about the upcoming midterms. I'm concerned about 28. How would you as governor work with other governors around the country to ensure that elections stay in the hands of the state as it should?
Who's asking that question?
Uh-oh. It's me. I don't know if I'm on camera anywhere.
Oh, I just wanted to see you. So let me just say, who better to do that than someone who came out of the movement? At 15 years old, I helped to start the Black Student Union. I was a football player, not very good, everybody, but I did play football. And then a couple of months later, United Mexican American Students, I led the walkouts. At UCLA, you probably have seen pictures of me when we were taking on the bombings in Cambodia and, the loss of affirmative action back in the 70s. I have been involved my whole life. I'm an organizer. And let me tell you, you hit it right on the head. We'll get every blue state, every purple state, and those states, I think there are red states that don't like this federalizing. They like states' rights and federalizing. And that's the other thing. When you fight to win as many people as possible. So you build a broad coalition of not just progressives, not just Democrats, but people who care about our democracy, care about our Constitution. So any attempt to federalize an election will take them to court, obviously, and we'll do everything we can to build a national coalition to stop that. And as I said earlier, we need to build a movement, everybody, to defend our democracy. They've done it in Poland. They've done it in countries that have had authoritarian governments. That's what we have. And we need to push back. And the only real way to push back is with people like you, Democrats, and others who love this country, like I do, and believe in her and are willing to fight for her.
Right.
Last question from one of our board members.
Hello, Mayor Villaraigosa. I have a question. What would you say to Democrats who are concerned right now that we have too many Democratic candidates in this race, and that come after the primary, our choices are going to be a bad Republican and an even worse Republican?
No, it's thank you for asking that question. And it's actually a question that we hear, all of the candidates hear a lot. Let me explain something. Right now, the two Republicans are right there at the top. They both have about 16. One has 16, the other has 14. That's 30. And you're probably saying, well, there's only 25% Democrats. Yes, there's 25% Democrats. And then there are independents who call themselves independents, but they almost always vote Republican. They're with them too. And maybe even a handful of Democrats. Bianco may have some, by the way. Just some. So they're not undecided. The undecided are about 35%. They're almost all Democrats and disproportionately Latino and independents who are independent, but they almost always vote Democrat. So we got a big undecided. That's one. Two, since the beginning of this, open elections, it's been a Democrat and a Republican. If you remember in the last race, I started at 3, Gavin was at 33. Over time, I got in 2 years after he did. I raised 10 million. He already had 10 million, but he raised another 10 million. So he had 20, I had 10. He had an independent expenditure of 30 million. I had an independent expenditure of 22. I didn't know about it, of course, but there was one out there. So what's going to happen is Trump got behind not the most right-wing guy, which was Travis Allen. He got behind Cox, who said he didn't vote for Trump. He got behind Cox because they knew their only shot was to get behind one person. I believe that Trump is going to get behind one person. I think it'll be Steve Hilton, even though Bianco, who's an oath keeper, everyone, yes, an oath keeper, he's to the right of Hilton, not by much because they're both right wing, but he's to the right. But I think Trump goes with the other guy. So I think it'll either be a Republican. I think a Republican will come in first. I do believe that. And if you remember, last time with Trump's endorsement, Cox went to 27 or 26, I think it was. He flew up. They spent $30 million beating me up, and I went down. And by the way, Cox beat me up, Gavin beat me up, Chung beat me up. I got beat up by everybody because I was second. And this time around, I like being, in a place where, like Gray Davis. In 98, at the end of March, Gray Davis was at 11, Harmon was at 15, and Checky was at 18. Was there a Governor Checky? No, it's right, Governor Davis. So it's not going to be two Republicans. I can almost assure you of that. We have more money too. That's the other thing. I raised the most money. Katie was second, but she transferred $1 million from her Senate account. but Sarah transferred 2 million. I think he's third, then Swalwell. No, actually, number one is Mahan. I forgot about him. Mahan's number one. He raised $7 billion in 7 days from Tech Bros. So, you know, I believe it's going to be a Democrat and a Republican. I can almost guarantee you. I do not see a shot for 2 Republicans. And the other thing is, there are going to be a lot of interest groups, particularly labor, who are going to be watching this race. And if something like that were to start to materialize, they're going to spend a lot of money to make sure that doesn't happen.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Villaraigosa, for joining us today. I know you joined us in person last summer at our picnic here in Palos Verdes.
And I want to remind you guys, can I remind you, I have polyps in my vocal cords, and because I come out of, you know, marches for 50 years and the job that I have, I had just gotten operated on, and the doctor said to take off my polyps. I had the same surgery 25 years ago, and I wasn't supposed to talk. So luckily you had that great mic, and I was able to say, you know, 2 minutes of words, and then couldn't talk again for a week. So thank you guys. I do remember, and I had such a great time. You guys were all so gracious. And please don't forget, there are a lot of good Democrats. There's only one with a track record across the board like me. And very importantly, the only one from LA County. And let me tell you something. LA always gets the most money, true, from the feds and the state. But when you look at what we get versus how big we are, By the way, neither does Orange County get its fair share, or San Diego. I won't say who gets more than their fair share for the numbers, but you figure it out. Certainly not us.
Well, I guess some of us were coming to San Francisco. We'll see you later in the week, right?
I'm hoping you do, and I'd be honored to have your support. And please come up to me and say hello and say that you saw me on this Zoom. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.